What's up, guys? Welcome to our birth story. We're so excited to talk about this because I feel like it's super relevant with the pandemic going on and how that pretty much changed our entire plan and how we pictured labor.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Before we get into the story, I think it's important to talk about pre-birth because things started changing for us at the 36-week mark. Aaron was no longer allowed to come to any of my appointments, and these are the important appointments where you start to find out if you're progressing, if you're not.
They're all important.
They're all important.
Guys, go to all your appointments.
Yeah, take notes. But I don't know, this is right around the 36-week mark, we started getting told Aaron might not be able to come to delivery at all.
Yeah.
And they started just forewarning us that right now partners were allowed, but they weren't allowed to be there once we got put into the mother-baby unit. So you could be there for labor, and then they got kicked out. Mm-hmm. But the way that things were progressing, there was a potential to not be there for labor at all. So that's when things started to get, I think, real for us. Yeah. We were so stressed out about this daily, talking about it, what are we gonna do? How am I gonna do this by myself? I'm a first-time mom. I don't know what I'm doing. So, and also at this point, all of our prep classes were canceled. Mm-hmm. So we were going in blind. So I feel that's the pre coming up to this. When I actually went into labor, Aaron was still not allowed to come to the mother-baby unit, but he was allowed to come for labor, which was great. So we actually headed to the hospital at 6 a.m., got admitted. We were there for 2 hours just getting monitored and kind of
taking the initial vitals.
Yeah.
And it wasn't super intense. It's not like in the movies
where they're go.
In the car, get me to the hospital.
Yeah.
It's not like that.
I don't know, yeah, we were okay. We got there. They were okay, set you up, put us in this beautiful room.
Oh yeah, we got upgraded to the executive suite, corner unit.
Yeah.
Facing the beach. It was awesome.
We also didn't even mention checking in.
Oh,
checking in. We're pulling up. They force you to valet, which was we don't want people in our car.
Yeah, I wasn't very happy about that.
But that wasn't apparently an option.
Yeah.
We had to wear masks.
They have all these, I don't know if they're nurses. They're probably nurses outside. Nurses. And they're all in the full COVID gear, head to toe. Style. Yeah, head to toe, hazmated out, PPE on everything, you know. You walk up through these it's almost like you're going into an event. They have you know, if you're going to a concert, they have the metal railings and stuff for the lines. You go through this metal railing thing. There's people checking your temperature.
You had to Purell.
You had to sanitize your hands. Yeah. I think people were getting swabbed, but we didn't get swabbed.
We didn't get swabbed.
Yeah, but they had the swabs there too, and
you weren't allowed to cough. If you had any symptoms or anything, it was sorry.
They had security right there too, so you couldn't run in.
Yeah.
Anyways. It was pretty intense.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Not the best way to walk up to going into labor.
Yeah.
Anyways, we get there. We check in, get into our room, and they basically tell us that the hospital is completely shut down except for the maternity ward and COVID patients.
It was weird. I haven't been to a hospital very many times.
Yeah.
But it was like a ghost town in there.
Empty.
It was you could hear a pin drop in the frickin' hospital. We were checking in, I could hear my voice echoing 5 stories. You go into the hospital and it's in a very open lobby, and it goes 4 or 5 stories up or something like that. The lobby does, it opens up and you could just hear your voice echoing throughout the whole thing, and it was
there's
really
just nobody
bizarre.
there, and everybody in the hospital is decked out, all the nurses. And so we actually get into our room, all the nurses are masked up, we're masked up, and we're do I have to wear this the whole time during labor? What's the deal here? And we were told pretty much yes. You need to be like that anytime somebody comes in the room. We were washing our hands crazy.
Crazy.
Everything was sterilized. No one wanted to be really that close to you. Even them taking my temperature, they would be but it was eerie. Anyway, so we did about 2 hours of just them checking my contractions. We were just hanging out at this point. I wasn't in intense pain. I was chilling. And then a nurse comes in and she's like, what's your pain level? And I'm like, I'm good. And she's like, well, pain means progress. And I was like, I remember being like, okay, well, that's terrifying. So she's like, we're going to put you on Pitocin, which if you don't know what Pitocin is, it basically amplifies all your contractions to be an insane level. I had read about it going into labor, that it was very hard to do a labor without an epidural if you were on Pitocin.
We talked with our OB beforehand, and kind of the game plan as things developed with everything going on, was that we wanted to be in the hospital as little time as possible. So this kind of fell into that kind of game plan as well, and
so I did take notes the whole labor, so I can actually talk about stuff. Anyway, so when we were actually, we were checked right as I was put on Pitocin, and I was 4 centimeters, 80% effaced, and they basically said they're gonna up my Pitocin every single hour until I can't really tolerate it, and then we'll talk about options. So.
And what does that mean? What does not tolerated mean? Is that from a contraction perspective? Is that from
pain.
a nauseum perspective?
I think it was a pain perspective. At least that's how I took it.
So the contractions.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is we had been there for now maybe 4 or 5 hours. I'm starving.
Yeah.
I started asking Aaron, I was like, can you give me a power bar? I was eating banana chips, and a nurse comes in and is like,
what are you doing?
You can't eat. And I was like, nobody told me I couldn't eat anything. So I'm over here I'm famished. So I had 2 cups of chicken broth, 4 Jellos, because that's all you could have.
Yeah, they bring you the chicken broth and the Jello.
Yeah, so
we ate a lot of Jello.
Yeah.
She had a pancake breakfast before we got there and stuff. I'm over here getting everything ready. I didn't eat a single thing. I had a couple sips of water, and then we, just having a full pancake breakfast and stuff. And it's just we should probably get over there. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
So basically, from there, this is now at 12 o'clock. This was one thing I didn't like, is no nurse wanted to be exposed to the patients for a long period of time. So we had I wrote down we had 4 different nurses by 12 o'clock. So it's almost a different nurse, a different hour. We didn't have a good nurse-patient relationship because it was a new person every freaking time. And I hated that.
Yeah, I didn't like that either. I think in terms of that specific scenario that we had might change for other folks, just because they had someone that day call out.
That's true.
And at least that's what they told us. They said someone called out that didn't come to their shift, and now we're trying to cover, because that would have probably been our dedicated nurse.
Yeah, so that kind of sucked.
Yeah.
But then, so at 1:40, I wrote, our OB actually came by, and she was supposed to do a check and see where we were at. So she told me that I was 5 centimeters, 80% effaced, and 1 station. I wrote maybe -1 because I was a little, but I was still I could feel the contractions. I wasn't I don't know, I have a very high pain tolerance, but I expected myself to be gritting my teeth in pain, barely.
The movies.
Yeah, the movies. And I was no, really, I'm okay. Let's just keep this going. So they kept upping my Pitocin, and at this point I was at 10 out of 20 on the Pitocin levels. And our OB basically said going from a 5 to a 6 for a first-time mom is roughly 4 hours. And we were whew, okay. And then she said it's 1 hour per 1 centimeter after that, and then roughly 4 hours of pushing. So we were oh crap, that's a really long time. So we were watched Jumanji.
All Paige was worried about was man, when's the next time I'm gonna eat?
I was so hungry. I kept being I'm so hungry. Could I have something else? But
she's order us some burritos and say they're all for you. Sneak them in for me.
Oh, that was the other thing.
Yeah.
So Aaron wasn't allowed to leave our room. I wasn't allowed to leave our room. So
yeah, once you get admitted, you can't leave.
You can't wander. You can't walk.
You can't come back. So
yeah. So then we were trying to figure out he hasn't eaten. It's 2 p.m.
Yeah, I didn't even have breakfast. I said earlier,
And they were we can't bring you food. Yeah. And he was so what the heck? So we ended up having to order food. And
luckily, they let me meet the what was it, like
guy?
Uber Eats delivery driver at the door of like the lobby and like pass it through like the security checkpoint. Basically, I like talked to the security guard, and he's like, I was like, hey, can I just go get like this food right out here? Like my wife's, you know, in labor right now. And he's like, oh yeah, sure. Like he was really cool. Yeah, I was like, you had to, you know, just find someone that looks cool and like ask them if it's okay. So, but then he had me go out the exit, and then I come through the, and like the nurses and stuff are standing right next to security. Like it's all in a little like, you know, thing like, and they all like hear us talking. I go out, grab the food from the guy, and walk back to like come back through so I can like peer out my hands, and they like take my temperature again, and they're like, "Oh, delivery drivers can't come into the hospital." I'm like,
"I'm not a delivery."
You just heard this like 5 seconds ago. I was like, my wife's in labor. Like I literally just can't. Like I thought I wasn't gonna be able to get back in, and they're like, and they kind of like looked over at the security. He's like, he's good, and I was like, oh, thank God. Like, oh my God, that like gave me a heart attack.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just like so standing out there with like
kicked out.
Like, oh
yeah,
no,
very bad. Okay, back to, so then you came up. This is now at 6:30 p.m. There was a shift change, and this is like where my morale like dumped, because this nurse comes in. She's like, I'm gonna do a check because it's been like out like 4 hours or whatever. She's like, you should like be at a 6 or something. She checks me and she goes, so you're like a 2 or 3? And I was like, 2 or 3 away from 10?
Yeah, like 2 or 3 more?
Yeah,
like...
she was like, no, like 2 or 3 centimeters dilated. And I was like oh
what?
My God, that's not possible. Like I got checked in at a 4. Like
yeah,
I call BS.
We're going the wrong way here.
Yeah, I was like, can you go backwards? And she was like, no. And I was like, so she leaves. She's like, I'm gonna go call your OB and just like clarify some things. And I'm just looking there and like, oh my God. Like, I was like so upset. I felt like completely deflated. I was like, let's just pack up our shit and come back at this point. Like, let's do this again tomorrow if it's gonna be this slow. And I was just like super bummed out. So then at that point, I think that like, they started to be like, oh, maybe her OB should come back because maybe like there's miscommunication. Mm-hmm. So this was, then she comes back, she's like, okay, your OB is gonna come and do another check. And I'm like, cool, great. So she comes, and this is now like 7-ish, and she's like, no, you are still 5 centimeters. I don't know what that nurse was talking about.
Yeah.
Like, don't sweat it, but you are still only at a 5, and it's been several hours. We can speed this up more if you want. We can break your water. And in the spirit of, let's get the hell out of here, she was like, let's do it. So I'm like, okay. I didn't really know what, like, I had never read anything about them breaking your water. Like, they were surprised that my water didn't break on its own. I don't know. Both of us, we just didn't really know
what's the percentage on that? I thought you knew the percentage. It was like...
I think it's like the majority of labors, you don't actually break your water on your own, like, before you show up at the hospital. But at some point during labor at the hospital, you break your water. So they actually wanted to break mine, and I was like, all right, yeah, sure, like, whatever, that seems fine. That's a gnarly thing to do.
Yeah, that was like the hardest thing for me to watch too, actually. I think it's the hardest thing for you to like endure.
I think because she told me, she's like, okay, we stick this like hook thing up and we like pull and pull. And
the
in
visual
my head,
she painted was like so bad.
That seems like you're shoving a fishing hook up my
God.
my parts and like really uncomfortable.
To any OBs out there watching, do not describe breaking the water like that. Just be like, oh, you'll probably feel like a little pinprick or something. Like,
if you hear crying, our little baby's like sleep crying.
Yeah.
Anyways, so that was like terrible. Didn't like it. Then no one told me this, is that after they break your water, things go from like 0 to 100 very, very fast. So this is like real quick. This is like 7 o'clock, 7:30. I'm starting to like get in pain. Mm-hmm. The contractions were like starting to get painful. I'm like breathing through them. I can like feel very, very consistently. And I'm like telling Aaron, like, I don't know that how much longer I can do this. And he's like, no, just like hold out. Like we can do this. It's fine. And I'm like, no. I know it's only been like 30 minutes, but I'm like not having fun anymore.
Yeah, I was like over the course of 30 minutes, like, this is awful.
Yeah, I was like, I was cool, no longer having a good time.
Yeah.
I was like miserable, and this is like, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to make it till 8. And if I'm still like, if it's getting worse and worse and worse, which,
It's going to.
Yeah.
It's going to.
I was like, I'm gonna ask for the epidural. So by 8 o'clock, I'm like calling the nurse, like, I feel super nauseous. I'm having no break. I feel like I'm gonna throw up. I'm like in crazy amount of pain. She's like, okay, like, I'll get the anesthesiologist, like, give us time, whatever. So I'm in bed and I'm like telling her my hands are falling asleep and getting all tingly, and she's like, yeah, because you're hyperventilating. I was like, I can't breathe. I've got this freaking mask on my face, and I'm like, like trying to like get enough air. Okay, so this is like, my contractions are now amplified. This is where like Aaron actually had to like step in and help me breathe through them, because I was like, I don't even think I opened my eyes for like the 2 hours after my water broke, because I was just like in pain trying to like internalize.
I don't know. Yeah. And to be fair, I don't feel like I needed to help that much. Like, I think you're in pain, but you're managing the pain pretty well.
I feel like I wasn't.
No, I think you're fine. Like, again, it wasn't like the movies where like,
I feel like this is the worst part.
Like, I'm breaking your hand. Like, it's more just like you were doing like, good breathing exercises and heavy breathing.
Clenching my teeth.
Yeah.
I don't know. We clearly had different perspectives on that.
Maybe my expectation was just a lot like that it was going to be a lot worse and a lot more like stressful and like intense. Yeah. And it just didn't seem as intense as I thought it was going to be, I guess.
Yeah. So. Anyway.
Yeah.
It was really bad for me.
Yeah.
But so the anesthesiologist comes, and I had seen every video that I had watched going into labor was that you have to sit on the edge of the bed and like curl over. And while you're like mid contractions, because mine were coming like I had no break, and even the anesthesiologist was
30 seconds in between.
Yeah, he was like, she's not getting
40
any break.
seconds,
Yeah. So they actually made me like slide to the end of the bed still laying down and just curl my legs up on the bed, like basically like fetal position on the bed.
Yeah, kind of like hugging your knees like up as much as you can to your chest, basically,
But then it's like a very, I don't know, interesting experience. He's like, can you feel it a little to your left or your right? And he's like pricking my back and like getting it perfectly. And
around your spine.
Yeah,
right?
around my spine.
Yeah.
And I was telling Aaron, I was like, it feels like someone is trying to crack your back, but just like one specific vertebrae. Like it's just like trying to like crack one. I don't know, it felt really weird.
But he's not actually trying to crack your back. He's just like putting a pin in your,
Yeah. We may need to pause and have our child sit in our lap. All right, we've got the baby now below camera to prevent crying. So after I got the epidural, I was like back to happy-go-lucky. I was like in a great mood. I was like, I'm having fun again. This is cool. We're good. And then I started to get nauseous, which they gave you they can give you Zofran in your IV, but it just like wasn't making a dent for me. So I just tried to sleep. This is like now like 9:30, 10 p.m. I pretty much like conked out for a while. Oh, but in the middle of conking out, we actually had an earthquake.
Oh yeah. That
Aaron
woke us all up.
Yeah, Aaron and I wake up to like my hospital bed like shaking.
Yeah.
He's like, what's happening? And I'm like, are we having an earthquake right now? It was really.
This was at what, like 1 or 2 in the morning, right?
No, this has got to be like midnight maybe.
Yeah.
It was gnarly. I mean, to have an earthquake in an empty hospital, really creepy.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I fell back asleep. This is now like 2 a.m. I am getting like so nauseous, and Aaron's sleeping. I'm like, okay, I need to call the nurses line and ask for more Zofran. So I call the nurses line. I'm like, hey, can I get more Zofran? A lady comes in and is like, yeah. I was like, can I also get like a vomit bag just in case? She's like, yeah, I'll go get your Zofran. I'll come back. She leaves. She was gone for so long.
She was gone for like an hour at least.
I was furious because I was like, I am so sick, and I'm like miserable, and this chick just like paced out. And so I was really unhappy. So then I start vomiting, and I threw up probably like 7 times.
You look at me?
What's your
Oh my god. This is such a...
It was just being my parents.
can't believe you.
So, back to the story. So I'm like vomiting. After I start vomiting, the nurse comes back in like 10 minutes later and was like, oh, I got your Zofran. I was like, well, I'm already throwing up. She's like, oh, sorry. Like, you know, blame it on the pharmacist. And I just was like, not having it. And so she leaves. She's like, hey, your actual like night nurse, it went on a break and she'll be back later. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, like I'm kind of feeling like, not pressure. Basically, they told me if you feel the need to poop, let us know.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I don't feel like that. I was like, I just feel pressure. Like, can you just like check me? And as I'm saying this, our night nurse comes back from her break and was like, oh no, actually, like I'm back, I can check you. So she like takes off my bed sheets, which you cannot move your legs when you have an epidural in. It basically feels like your legs are drunk and
They're drunk.
Yeah, like you can throw
Each leg gets drunk individually.
Yeah, you can like throw
Both
my legs around, and I just was like, couldn't feel anything. And
like your legs are asleep, or
yeah, like they're asleep and like pins and needly, and yeah, so they're just like not functioning. And she like lifts up the sheet and she's like, oh, your baby's like right there. Like, how long have you been feeling
I can see
like,
your baby.
Yeah, she's like, your kid's right there. How long have you been feeling like this? And I was like, I don't know, 45 minutes. She's like, okay, we're gonna call your BRB. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, like you're not even in pain or anything. Like you're just
epidurals
like,
are amazing.
You're like, I just feel like a little pressure down there,
Yeah,
right?
I just feel, I assumed my like contractions were just like pushing through the epidural and I was feeling contractions. So she comes back and she's like, okay, how are you feeling? I was like, I have like intense pain in my left like rib cage. And she's like, it's probably like your baby's like arm or whatever pushing through. She's like, we can do some practice pushes. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, because they basically wanted to do like light pushing to like to stretch out. What were they trying to stretch out?
They're trying to stretch out like, I guess it's not really your cervix, it's like your opening.
Yeah, whatever the opening is. I don't know these things. But basically, so it's like they wanted to do like light pushing to like kind of, it's like stretching like in fitness, right? You want to like warm up a little bit. You want to like stretch out slowly. You don't want to just go and touch your toes real fast because you could like rip things and pull.
Yeah, they were trying to prevent as much
things,
tearing.
right? So that's exactly what they're doing for this, basically.
Yeah.
Just
So
kind of ease you into it.
She's telling me like, okay, we're like looking at the machine. She can tell me when my contractions are. She's like, and then you do 3 breaths of pushing for 10 seconds. I'm like, okay. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm like, sure, whatever. So we're doing this and we get through like 1 contraction and she's like, okay, stop. Like your kid's gonna come out before your doctor gets here. Like you need to like cut it off. Like just don't do anything. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, like the kid was, I guess, a lot closer than we thought.
Anticipated. Yeah. So then like she's asking another nurse like, hey, call the doctor again. Like,
yeah. Where is she?
Like, where is she? And it's probably only been like 15 minutes.
Not even. Yeah, it's been like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, the doctor lives, what, 7 minutes
away?
She
said 7 minutes away.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Instead of like holding Paige's hand, she wanted me to just hold one of the leg while the nurse held the other. And I remember doing that at least 3 times before she was like, okay, we need to stop.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was about, it was about like 10 minutes after we went through those 3 sets.
Okay.
So, yeah.
My time is really...
yeah.
Anyways. So our B shows up and they're like, yeah, like she's like about to have this child. I think our OB, like, we pushed for like what, 1 or 2
We did 1
sets?
set.
Yeah.
Like we literally did like 1 set.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know, they told me 4 hours of pushing. I think we said it was like
pushed
max
under
20 minutes.
Yeah, we pushed under 30 minutes, like 20-25 minutes at most.
It was great.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah,
This
like,
is like
she wasn't screaming,
No,
she
I
wasn't grunting.
I literally felt like you're doing a squat.
It looked like she
Like
was
a heavy
doing like,
squat.
because I spot her on like heavy squats, and it looked exactly like that. She's just like,
yeah, it was
and then
you
know, like I'm like, all right.
I don't know if it was the epidural.
Big lift
or
here,
what,
big lift here.
Yeah, it was totally fine. I feel like the pushing part was like almost like the easiest part of labor. Like, and I thought it was gonna be really, really bad.
And I would just add too, I mean, you know, our OB like solidified this throughout our pregnancy, but saying, hey, keep working out, keep doing your normal workout routine, which for Paige at the time was a lot of deadlifts, a lot of barbell squats, a lot of hip movement, But like everything she does is really full body work, and you need a strong core to do a lot of that. And then when it becomes time to push, it's all core strength.
Yeah, it's nothing
And
else.
so I think it was so easy for her because she's very, very comfortable doing these compound movements and engaging her core. And so that strength just really like propelled, kind of the baby through. Yeah. And like for all like the moms out there or the ladies that like are planning to be moms, like start working out now. Start like working on your core strength. Do some compound movements. Get decently good at it, so by the time you are pregnant, you can kind of continue that through your pregnancy and have a really strong core to help you out, because it makes a huge difference.
Like I was like, man, if this is how labor is,
like
sign me up, we can have a bunch of kids.
I was shocked at how easy it was for you, and how like I was expecting grunting and like pain and like screaming and like really her like having a hard time to like push the baby through, right? Like you're not a super big girl. I mean, you're a little taller than average for a girl at like 5'6", right? Or 5'7". But it's average is 5'6". I think so. Average is like 5'6", I think. Okay. Fact check me on that in the comments below. Thank you. Anyways, I was just expecting her to have to work a lot harder, and it looked like a breeze, honestly. Not to discount.
No, it was easy. Literally, the worst part of labor was like right before I got the epidural.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. Anyways, we did not know the gender still.
No.
Like, had no idea what the gender was, and I'm not going to tell you what it is yet.
Yeah.
But right after I delivered, Aaron got to tell me what the gender was, and we'll put in like some video clips and stuff throughout this that you
We only took a little bit. Yeah.
We really wanted it to be like kind of like our moment. Yeah. But did our skin to skin, and then you're gonna have to fact check me on this because I don't really remember at what point they were like, hey, P.S. we're gonna test you for COVID.
Yeah. That was pretty much right after they cleaned up the baby.
It was like, was it an hour? I don't even know.
It was probably an hour.
Okay.
Like the times, like once the baby came, the time started really flying.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we
were in our own world.
So like the doctor held the baby up. I announced the gender. Right after that, I cut the cord. They did some initial tests, but I mean, they really kind of just like wiped the baby off and then gave the baby. Keep giving the baby to. They gave the baby to Paige for some skin to skin and me, and then they started. I think as they were doing the one nurse was doing the test. They had another nurse come in. Yeah, the stitches were done at this point.
Oh, okay.
And then they had the other nurse come in and do the COVID test.
Yeah, for what it matters, they didn't really tell me what degree of stitching or like tear that I had. All I know is I had a right labial tear. And I was told that it was better than most first-time moms, from what I've inspected. It sounds bad, but from what I've expected, I think there's only like 3 or 4 stitches. It was honestly like not bad at all. I expected to have like a pretty gnarly tear, and it was totally fine. So yeah.
And I think it's probably like, again, that like kind of stretching, this like pre-pushing helped with that. So I'd like, I would try to encourage like your nurses to say, hey, like, I want to do as much like pre-pushing as I can to stretch out. Maybe that's like a common like standard practice.
I think it is.
Who knows? I don't know. But try to maybe do that. That might help with the tearing a little bit as well. Yeah. And then
this is an hour after.
Oh, I was gonna say, and then how's your pain now with your stitching, right? Like, because I mean, generally the more stitches you have, at least in my experience, like the worse the pain is after the fact when you're recovering. So like 3 stitches is not a lot.
No, it's not a lot.
So,
honestly, I was in more pain like right after the delivery part, mainly because the epidural wore off. But it's like a couple days where you're like not comfortable, but it's really the pain where when you're breastfeeding, your uterus is like contracting down to size. That feels like labor pains. Like that stuff sucked.
Do you mean specifically when you're breastfeeding, or just during that kind of period of breastfeeding?
No, apparently it's amplified as you're breastfeeding because it's telling your body to like shrink down your uterus.
Like as you're physically breastfeeding?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But like there'd be times like I would literally have to sit down. I was in so much pain. And this is like while we're still in the hospital, so it was like not a huge deal. But after like a week at home, I was already walking around the block.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways, back to the COVID testing.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's the other important piece, and then we can go into postpartum. So this is like whatever, an hour after they are like, we're gonna test you for COVID. And I had known that this may be coming, but they kind of like sprung it on me, and I was like, what the hell? Because basically if you test positive, you need to be separated from your baby for 14 days. Which was like, I just delivered this child and now you're gonna like potentially separate us?
Yeah, that's a big bummer.
Like like that, I would have like liked a heads up and whatever. So they stick this thing up your nose. It is the worst. Like I had tears coming down my face.
What's the thing look like?
It literally looks like a little tiny syringe, and it just like
doesn't it have like bristles? Yeah. So think of like a little bottle brush, right?
And they stick that
and they stick it up your nose.
And then they like turn it around. Like I felt like they were like literally touching my brain. And I'm like tears down my eyes, and the nurse is like, I didn't even get it all the way up, like I'm so sorry. And she was like, I'm really sorry, but like we had to do it, whatever. So at this point, by the way, right before we started pushing, a nurse came in and said the hospital just lifted restrictions and Aaron could stay for mother-baby unit, which was like, thank the freaking Lord.
Yeah, that's great news.
But like we also had no clothes for you, and like we just weren't prepared. That's a whole other thing.
Well, I had like one change of clothes, but honestly, you're so busy like in that mother-baby unit. The baby like needs to be fed all the time, needs to be changed, held, cuddled. Like thinking back, I was like, I don't even know like if I would have had time to change like into a third.
I didn't change at all. I stayed in a hospital gown the entire time.
So
but so they lifted that while we were there, which was like a godsend because I was so nauseous post-delivery just from like not eating that I was like still dry heaving for like
I don't know,
like 10 hours. Like I basically couldn't take care of our baby because like Aaron was fully on deck, like changing diapers, figuring out swaddling all by himself because I was passed out in the hospital bed trying not to throw up. It was pretty rough.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine you doing this like without me there.
No.
Yeah. Not to like toot my own horn or anything, but it's just like you were so dead.
I was so dead.
Like, because it's like she's like physically exerting herself, and then on top of it with the nausea and the pain from the stitches. And, you needed to just rest as much as possible. So shout out to all those moms that did it alone. We feel for you. You killed it.
Really.
So.
I feel like we should wrap up the birth story. Postpartum, I think, is a whole different conversation, especially for me, because pregnancy and labor were the easy part. Like, I think that, like, I could do that part over and over again. The postpartum stuff is so much harder because, especially, like, as first-time parents, like, you're in pain. There's, like, things going on with your body that you're like, what the hell? You also have to take care of a brand new child. Aaron and I have no help from friends or family. Nobody can see our baby. Nope. Our pediatrician basically, like, we've been told that more or less we should keep our baby to ourselves through the summer, which is almost
at the earliest.
Our kid's gonna be like 4 or 5 months old before our baby meets anybody else. And like nobody can come over our house. Like we really haven't had much help. Aaron's parents have dropped off a few meals, but I don't know, this whole COVID stuff completely has left us managing everything on our own, and it sucks. Definitely not how we thought about it. I don't know. Yeah,
for me it's more like I just want like everyone to meet the baby, and it's been hard. It's been hard. I'm a very social guy, so it's been hard. Just in general, like even without a baby, like just being kind of locked up in quarantine, going on like solo runs and doing like solo workouts. Like that's not my jam. I love working out with people. I love playing hockey and being with the boys, and it's we're in lockdown. I want everyone to meet the baby and they can't, and it's like killing me. Like FaceTime like is great and all, but like it's not the same. Our baby met all grandparents, uncles, all through FaceTime, friends through FaceTime. It's not the same. So if you're going through, the pregnancy during this pandemic, during this time, give the video a thumbs up, hit that like button. We feel for you. Yeah. Power to you. You guys can do it. You're doing great. Yeah. Yeah. And leave a comment if you want to talk about it. Yeah. I can commiserate with you all day. Yeah.
I was gonna say this bleep is very lonely. But
Bleep.
bleep. I was like, probably shouldn't say that. But we feel for you. Our hearts go out to you, honestly. It's very hard to go through labor in general, during a pandemic. You can handle anything after this.